Hi everyone, welcome to another video all about Monday.com. Today I have a special guest with us. I have Mike from Ziflow. If you're not familiar with Ziflow, Ziflow is an online editing and proofing tool that is used by different creative teams. I'm going to hand it over to Mike now to show us how Ziflow works and all about the integration with Monday.com. Hi, my name is Tara, and I'm a certified Monday.com partner and the founder of Simple Day. My goal is to help you build powerful yet simple workflows with Monday.com. If you need help with a custom implementation, my contact details are in the description below. Let's jump into today's tutorial and make Monday the best part of your week. So Mike, why don't you start with a little bit of a deeper explanation about what Ziflow is?
Yeah, no, Tara, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here for sure. Ziflow, we're an online review and approval tool. So it's all about really helping creative teams, marketing teams, agencies, and brands get their content out there for review, be able to collect really good feedback on that content as it goes through its different stages of approval. With the added benefit for your customers who use Monday, that Ziflow is a fully embedded platform into Monday.com. So I can share proofs, I can upload content, I can add my edits, make decisions as well, all from within Monday.com, and really have full control over the proofing process.
Great. Awesome. So tell me a little bit before we jump into a demo, which we are going to see a live demo here. Before we jump into that, can you just tell me a little bit about how it works from a big picture? Meaning, do you guys have an app? Is there an integration? Like how would people understand the integration, I guess, or an integration, an app?
Yeah, so the integration, so Ziflow is a standalone product. That being said, we are an official partner of Monday.com. So this is something that you would sign up through Ziflow, either through Ziflow or through your Monday account rep. There's then an integration that gets set up. And I think the nice thing, we worked very closely with the Monday product team on this integration to make it very simple. It's all based on templates and just connecting the two accounts together. And then what this unlocks is basically the ability to go to the task level and upload the file to the task and share it for review all through the Monday board. I'm then going to be able to collect feedback from my stakeholders, either through Monday or through Ziflow, and then it's going to keep Monday up to date. So some of the manual tasks I used to have to do of, uploading content, sending out invites, and then collecting decisions, Ziflow and Monday will handle that for me.
Amazing. Okay. So let's jump into a live demo. We'd love to see how it works.
Yeah, cool. So I will share my screen. And so what you should see here in a second is everybody's favorite work management tool, Monday.com. Now, this board we're looking at, this is a little bit slim back than probably what most of your customers are used to seeing in every day. I've got this marketing content board. It's got some work management specific information like the status or the content type or the priority. Keep in mind with Ziflow, we're going to integrate into the existing projects that you have and the project templates that you're already kind of set up within your account. And so information we might add to those boards are details about maybe the proof status or upcoming deadlines for review or who's currently reviewing it, versioning. Any information that I think is relevant about proofing, I can add to my Monday board. Now, this board's set up in a way that maybe someone submits a request through a form for a new piece of content. We've gone through all the project planning, maybe the briefing, and let's say this print dad request has now been assigned to me. If I'm the one that's actually sharing this content, what I can do is click right into the task, and we're going to see this Ziflow proofing window. And so if there was already a proof that existed, I'd see it listed. Because there's not, I'll go ahead and create the proof, and there's just a couple steps I need to follow to get something sent out for review. The first step is, of course, to drop in my file or files. So at Ziflow, we do support over 1,300 different file types. That includes PDFs, that includes images, videos, rich media web banners, live websites, anything you need to share for review, you can upload in here.
Wait, you can upload a URL of a website?
You could, yeah. So right here, I've got the option to either do a URL snapshot of the entire website page or live content. I've got the flexibility for either, yeah.
I didn't even know there were 1,300 file types. That's pretty cool.
It's a funny list. There's all the standard ones, MP4s, JPEGs, PDFs, and all that. There's also some random ones in there, like Nintendo audio files. There's a specific, Simpsons hit and run video game file. So I'm sure whatever service we use to help render that content, this is just the default ones they have. I think the good thing to note, though, for people is it's all the ones you would expect. and then a whole bunch of other ones you might not expect. Those files can also be up to 4 terabytes in size. I think something people typically think maybe when they look at Ziflow for the first time within Monday is we are uploading the file to Ziflow, not to like a Monday files column. And there's a key reason for that. One, the additional supported file types. Additionally, the additional file size. These files can be up to 5 terabytes, so there's not really a limitation on file size or file type. But also, anybody can then access the file. I can invite in anybody to come in and review this content. I can share it with them. They don't need access to Monday. They don't need a Ziflow license. Anybody that needs to review the content, it's very easy for me to share that and make it accessible to my stakeholders. So once we do have the file in there, really the only other step is to add in my reviewers. And so this is all about making sure the right people get brought in to review this at the right time with the right settings and permissions applied. And so I could manually add people and say, hey, we need, Bobby and we need Dana and some other people to come in and sign off on this. But a lot of our clients do have more standard processes, either based on client or content type or the team that they're working with. And so what we enable you to do is set up workflow templates that are really going to allow you to kind of have a structured approach to that review process. And so if I drop one in like this brand review template, what we'll see is this brings in all my stakeholders with the right settings and permissions kind of already pre-configured. So this one starts with the brand and marketing review. It's got myself, it's got Carol, it's got Mary in here. We might have a couple decision makers. We've also got a deadline for a couple business days from now, which that's something that can be added into the Monday project so we can track that as the proof progresses. I'll also note there's a checklist that's been applied to this stage. So checklists are pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a list of items that's going to surface within the proof viewer that I can kind of use as a guide as I'm reviewing. So it could be details about like specific brand guidelines. Could be just a reminder to say, hey, did you check for that legal disclaimer? Is the copy all accurate? Is the headline in the right style? This is something that's optional, but we do find a lot of our clients use it as a way to guide their reviewers through the review process. So just make sure you hit all these boxes before you actually say this is approved.
Yeah, I could say like for our videos, so one of the things that's really important is, Monday.com has to be spelled with a lowercase m, but the auto correct always puts it to capital. So it's something that for us, that's very helpful to have that ability to have that checklist.
Just those little reminders. We rolled this feature out 6 months ago or so. The most common response when I ask people like, hey, do you have a checklist for your content? If it's maybe more like a less regulated industry, they typically don't. Healthcare, pharmaceutical, they typically do have a checklist written down somewhere, so they want that brought in. Everyone else, they typically say, we don't. We have an idea in our head of what the checklist should be, and we've had conversations about maybe formalizing it. And so this is like a nice way to step into that and to be able to provide a formal checklist for a review. So in terms of the workflow, once the brand and marketing team does go through their checklist and approve all the content, in this case, it's going to bring in our art director, Dana. So Dana's not getting brought in until it's really ready for her to review. At this point, Dana might look at it. She might have some feedback. Maybe she marks this change as required. That's fine. It's going to kind of stop it in its tracks, let the designer get to work with implementing the edits. And then when it gets back to Dana and she approves it, maybe now we bring in the legal and compliance team or the requester or an exec or any other stakeholder. Again, this is all about making sure the right people get brought in at the right time. So not too early in the process, but also definitely not too late, and they're not going to be missed entirely. And I don't have to be the one playing quarterback, passing the ball around to these different people. Ziflow will handle it for me.
Great. And this was all, you configured all of this beforehand. I know that you're just taking from a template for this.
Yeah, so it's all set up in a template, set up during implementation, easy to manage and adjust and edit as well. But it is basically, you set this up, when my team comes in to share content, all they're doing is dropping that file in and choosing the right template.
Great. Okay, so then how does the process work?
Yeah, so now I go ahead and hit create, and Ziflow and Monday start to go to work for me. So first thing it's doing, uploading this file, getting it ready to share out for review. Once that's done, we're going to see some information start to flow into Monday as well. So again, I have it set up to show details about the proof status. It's going to show details about, what's the active stage of review, what version this is on, what, decisions are coming up. Basically, all these updates are going to flow into Monday for me. And keep in mind, they're going to stay up to date as the proof progresses. As new assets get shared out or new versions get uploaded, we're going to see those updates flow through Ziflow.
So this column that you just added this proof to that just filled in, that's a connected board column. I'm assuming you have another board where you have all of these proofs and it's just connected to this board.
I love talking to the Monday experts because they always catch that right away. These are connected board mirrored columns. So what ends up happening when I create the proof is it creates a duplicate item on this Ziflow. I call it the Ziflow catch-all board. Some people call it the proofing board, whatever you want to call it. But basically, this is going to show me all my proofs across my entire Monday account. So before we were in one specific project, some people use a lot of different projects or they create new projects for new campaigns. And so what we do is just mirror these columns back to your project template boards. So when you create a new one, they're already there, the integration's set up, and we don't have to manage an integration across multiple different projects.
Okay, so for anyone listening and is not familiar with this concept of connected board columns and mirror columns, I'll put a link in the video above as you're watching this now to another video about connected board columns so you can check out how to do that in order to implement this workflow.
And then once that thing is out for review, so that print ad has been shared, I will note maybe that does trigger a little Monday notification to let me know the status has changed and this is out for review. It could also send out an email to all of our stakeholders to let them know, hey, you've got a new proof to review. And so again, those people that are coming in to sign off on this asset, they might not have access to Monday. They probably don't have a Ziflow account. That's fine. They're going to receive an email that looks something like this, very customizable, very brandable. But all, Mary in this case has to do is click that open proof button, and that's going to take her right to the proof viewer to start commenting and making decisions and providing feedback.
Was this a setting that you set that she got this email? Like, can you decide if someone gets an email versus a notification versus just seeing a status change within Monday?
Yeah, so by default, anybody that's in that workflow template is going to receive that welcome invite into the proof. That is something you could turn off. It's really up to you how you want the people to be notified. Could also be Slack or Teams notifications. For example, I do a lot of product demos, so I get a lot of emails from my Ziflow demo account. But I do get invited into proofing with our actual marketing team. And so when I get a proof from them to review, I get a Slack message so that I know, hey, this means business. I should jump in and start actually providing feedback. So there's a lot of different ways we can meet people where they're at.
And that's set up within the Ziflow account itself. There's nothing to do with Monday.
It could be. So it's either set up within Ziflow, at least for Slack, or it could be using a combination of Ziflow updating the project board and then a Monday automation reacting to it. So either or.
I forgot to mention this in my intro, but we use Ziflow internally for our YouTube videos. We use them for this whole process of approving or asking for changes. And we have set up automations that, I get a notification based on the change of status. Okay, Tara, this video is ready for you to review. When I have changes, so I make my changes and then the status changes, editor, go back and look at it. And we use the status column to do those notifications when we do it. But I didn't know that there were other ways to also notify people. And also the fact that they don't need to either have a Ziflow account or a Monday account is also a great feature.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility. When it comes to notifying people, we're hyper aware of notification fatigue. So during implementation, we work with people to make sure they are notified at the right time by the appropriate software, and we're not, bombarding them every time a comment gets updated. So that's a key component to set up for us. You have a lot of options, though, for how you are ultimately made aware of changes to a proof. Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue with the process here.
Yeah, and so now that this is in proofing, that's where our reviewers are either going to click the link in that email or just right through this Ziflow proofing window. I can go review, see that proof, and I can hit review, and this is going to take me out to the proof viewer. So right away, I see the file on the screen. Again, I don't have to download anything. I don't have to install anything. I don't have to sign up for an account. I'm ready to start reviewing right away. On the left-hand side, I do have this checklist that's present. So this is going to help me guide
that you were talking about before.
Exactly. So the checklist that's applied to the stage. And keep in mind, different stages can have different checklists because the legal team is going to be looking at this with a different, perspective than our brand and marketing team. But as I am going through and reviewing, I can use this as kind of a guide for what I should be keeping an eye out for and making sure certain items have passed the test here. Additionally, in here, I do have some options around searching for text. I can zoom in and zoom out and get a close look at certain elements of the screen. There's also options around measurement areas and color separations if we're doing packaging material. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I really only need to know how to do two things as a reviewer: how to add a comment and then how to make my decision on this. And so maybe I'm looking at this and I realize, hey, can we move this logo down a little bit? I can use the arrow and say, can we move the logo down? And spell check does work as I sometimes need in here. I can format this comment however I want. And then when I post that, that now gets added to our thread of feedback.
On the specific place where you're commenting.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a clear markup there.
Just like the video, when someone's editing a video, you can choose the timestamp. Obviously, that's not relevant here.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Other options too. So if we're using the checklist to help guide our review, as we're clicking in, I can see some advanced details of each checklist item. So there should be a single logo on here. You can go ahead and agree with that. I only see one logo. It's also saying there should be a circular product cut out with an accent color stroke for all of our product print ads. In this case, I see there's a circular logo or cutout, but there's no accent color stroke. So I'll probably go ahead and fail that. I'll add a comment and tie it to it. And maybe in this case, I use the circle to highlight that exact area. And I say, can we add the accent color stroke?
Cool. So you can add a comment from the checklist because it's connected to your checklist, or from the image itself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that helps the designer, because when the designer's coming through and implementing the changes and they see, hey, the product insert checklist item failed, I can see exactly what was the cause of that. And this is all meant to be very real-time and collaborative. So we have one saying that we should do a spell check and make sure everything's good here. Well, I'm looking in the middle of the screen and it says 5+ hours of, paid time. Maybe it should have said playtime. And so I can go ahead and, have that comment. Maybe I mention Carol from the copy team and say, shouldn't this say playtime? Again, spell checks, my friend. There we go. Cannot type today. But when I then tag Carol and she comes in here, this is meant to be very centralized, very collaborative, very real time. Carol's going to be made aware that she's been tagged in this comment. She can jump in. She can respond to me in real time. She can add a little reaction, maybe a thumbs up or a verified response. But we can see each other's comments in real time going back and forth. Basically, instead of taking this file and sending it out to 10 different people and getting 10 different responses back, I'm bringing everyone to this one central collaborative place to comment, to go back and forth, and then hopefully approve. But maybe in this case, I might mark it as changes required. Yeah.
So now what happens in the Monday board? Does it?
Yeah. So that decision's come through. And what we should see is, hey, this proof status has changed in the task details. And then back in here, status has been updated to reflect that on the board as well. So I see the current stage of, hey, this is still in proofing, but right now it's changes required. Now, when our designer does see that, hey, the status has changed on this item, this is actually where another integration comes into play, because the designer typically going to be making edits in Photoshop or InDesign or Figma or one of our design tools. And so when it comes to creating the new version of the proof, if I'm the designer and I see that the status on this task has changed, what I can do is jump into Photoshop or InDesign or Figma, and we've got a Ziflow extension that's going to surface not only my list of proofs, but also when I click in there, it's going to show me all of the requested changes on that proof. So I see it here. I can go through, I can start reviewing the feedback. As I implement the edits in, the Creative Cloud or Figma, I can start marking these comments as resolved to say, yeah, I've taken care of it. And then probably the nicest thing is once I'm done, implementing those changes and I'm happy with the new version, instead of exporting the file, downloading it, sending it out via an email, or tagging everybody in the Monday task, all I have to do is hit this drop down and say create new version. This is going to export this file out of, in this case, Photoshop to Ziflow for me. And then all those events that we saw before, updating the proof details, sending out the invite, all of that is going to happen again. Ziflow is going to do all that for me. I don't have to go through all the manual steps of saying, hey, this is now back on version 2. Let's re-invite in all our reviewers. Let's go do all the manual updates. Instead, Ziflow does that for me.
Wow. So basically, just to summarize, what you're saying is that if you have project managers and graphic designers that are working, on projects, so the project managers are working here and they may see the Ziflow proof, then they can comment there, which automatically goes into the tool that the graphic designer is working in. The graphic designer can comment in that tool, which goes back to Ziflow, which goes back to Monday.
Yeah, so it's these three tools are kind of all working in tandem, basically. The project manager is managing it through Monday, but the updates in Monday are happening because Ziflow's, an event in Ziflow kicks off. Once that Ziflow event says, hey, this is changes required and it needs edits, the designer is able to surface those edit requests in their tool of choice. And then they're able to send the new, clean version back to Ziflow on Monday directly through that tool. And then the whole kind of process kicks off again and all those automations run for me.
How does this work in terms of, I know that in the templates you had, different levels of approval. It needs to start, let's say the project managers first, then legal. Does that show up in Monday at all? How does that process work?
It could. So it does surface for me in this case the current stage of review. So if I know the template's going from brand to legal, I would see what stage is active in there. If I'm looking for some deeper details about the proof beyond just who's up for a review and what version we're on, I can just click into it and then go and open this proof up. And this is going to open it up for me in Ziflow, in the actual Ziflow dashboard, where I can get an even deeper level of detail about the proof. So this one's showing me here, hey, the brand and marketing stage is in progress. It's been sent out, for review, but no one's opened it yet. No one's made any comments or made any decisions. So I've got a really clear view of not only the workflow that was applied, but also how far into proofing people have gotten.
So in this example, once you approve it, does Carol then automatically get either an email or a notification?
So in that case, I was the only decision maker in this stage. So when I approve it, it's actually going to invite in Dana, the art director, because her stage is going to start when the brand team is approved. We could have multiple decision makers. I can make Carol and Mary a decision maker and approver as well. In this example, though, they're just commenters.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
The most important part is that you set up the system in a way that it automatically goes through the people that you need it to go through in the steps, and it automatically assigns them without you having to remember, oh, now we have to remember to go to legal. Now we have to remember whoever to get approvals. That whole thing is set up. I know you discussed that in the beginning, but now we get to see it in action, which is pretty cool. Exactly.
It's all about making sure the right people get brought in at the right time. A lot of our customers are maybe in highly regulated industries, or they have a really complex process for getting content signed off on because, maybe it's a packaging or it's a print flyer that they're going to print a couple thousand of them. It needs to go through the compliance team to say we're not going to get in trouble by, stating these claims. It needs to go through the production team to say, hey, everything looks good. We're going to print this and there's not going to be any errors. So Ziflow handles that handoff between these different teams while still also giving that project manager full visibility into the workflow and who's approved what and when, and if there's a hang up, where that hang up's occurring.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then maybe the last thing, just because we are on version 2, this is where version control and comparison comes into play. I will note, we saw before reviewing a proof through the actual Ziflow proof viewer, this window here. We've actually added this to Monday.com. So in this marketing board up top, I can see there's this proofs to review tab. And when I click in here, this is basically showing me all the proofs that are tied to this particular project board that I'm a reviewer on and that are active. And so I can see I've got 2 that are ready for my feedback on version 2. One of them is a video. So again, when I'm reviewing any piece of content, the experience is the same. When I'm marking up a video, it is tied to the frame or the time code. So this is, to frame 0. But because we are on version 2, I probably want to see how this has progressed over time. And so when I open up that comparison mode, on the left, I see the current version. On the right, the most recent version. And probably most importantly, I see all the old feedback that was requested. So we wanted to change live life to the full to live life to the fullest. Check, that's been taken care of. We wanted to move that logo down. Kind of looks like it moved down, but I can always use some advanced comparison tools like the overlay or the auto compare to get a really clear view as to what's changed version over version.
I did not know this, and this is actually a feature that I was thinking, I'm always jumping between versions because I don't remember what I wrote in my original comments, so I'm so happy that you guys have this feature. I'm going to have to implement it and start using it, but I did not know this, so this is really a great feature.
I'm the same way. Once the proofs tab is closed, it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't, I got to go back and look at what I said before. This gives you that full history. If anything's missed, it's very easy to copy a comment forward so you don't have to retype it out. But it gives you that full view into the history of the proof across all versions, not just these two. I can go back to any other. The added benefit, hopefully because all that feedback came through, in one centralized location. The designer was able to implement all these changes through InDesign. I'm able to then validate that, yeah, all those requested edits were accurately applied. Typically, that ends up meaning we're going to get to that version of approved a little bit quicker than maybe we have historically. We can cut down on the time it takes to get content approved and cut down on the number of versions that we have to create to get something signed off on as well.
I like this. This is really great, this feature. So tell me a little bit about what type of teams are using Ziflow. Is it more intern, or maybe it's both? Is it internal teams like a marketing department or a creative department within companies, or is it more of creative agencies? Maybe you're seeing both. Who's actually using this tool?
It's a mix of both. I mean, anybody that is creating content that's representing their business out in the market has a need for proofing. So we work with a lot of agencies because this is a tool that you can share this content with your client with. There's some cool little bells and whistles we didn't even go through with making sure the client's only seeing the relevant versions and comments that you would want them to see. So very common for agencies to use this, but brands as well. Specifically like healthcare, pharmaceutical, financial services, companies that have highly regulated content that need a rigid procedure to go through to say, hey, yes, compliance is happy with this. The brand team says this represents our brand well. Very common to be used by brands and really any type, whether they're producing Super Bowl ads that are going to go out and be played for millions of people, or they're producing just a packet that goes out once a year to all of their shareholders that says, hey, here's everything we've done. That's great. Here's our, new plans for the next year. And here's all the numbers. There's anything that needs to be reviewed can be put into Ziflow.
And tell me a little bit about the pricing. Just what type of model do you guys work with, the pricing? Is it per user? How does it work?
There's kind of two options. So through Monday, there is a package where you can purchase 35 users. And so keep in mind, these users are people that are creating and managing proofs. You don't have to be, a user to review content. That is something you can actually purchase through your Monday.com account manager and add on to your plan. And so that's 35 users, 4 terabytes, and around 10K. You can also purchase directly through us, through Ziflow. We have a couple different plan levels that come in at different prices, typically starting at around 25 or 35 licenses, depending on the plan. And that could be either license and seat-based. We do also have a token-based model. And so that's more based on the number of proofs you're creating and the amount of storage you're using. So yeah.
Got it. Okay, great. What are your plans for the future for Ziflow, and any cool features that you guys are working on?
Yeah, so I think the hot button issue for everybody is AI, of course. Everybody wants to see how we can automate some of this and how we can use AI to help in our process. And so that's actually something you may have noticed if you were looking closely. There was a button in the demo that said review AI. And so this is actually all based on the checklist. So I'm going to unlock this proof. I'm going to open that checklist up again. I'm going to unclick these. And so what we see here is that review AI. Sneaky. And so this is something that is going into public preview very soon. But our thought was, if we have this checklist, and it's a very clear list of things that need to pass for this proof to move forward, could we have an AI assistant take a first pass at it before we actually send it off to our team to review? And so what's happening right now is the review AI is looking at the file and it's looking at the checklist. And we're going to see here in a second, it's going to return some suggestions to me of did these things pass or fail, as well as a description as to why it thinks it may or may not have failed. So for that product insert one, that was one that we said failed manually before. If I actually click in, I can see, hey, it suggested it failed. It actually had a high reliability level because I've agreed with that suggestion enough times yet. And it's actually given me a conclusion that said, hey, while a circular product cutout is present, there is no accent color stroke around it. And so I would go in here, I'd validate that suggestion, and then let the designer know, hey, this is what needs to fix based off of what AI suggested. So yeah.
Right. That seems like a really great way to use AI for the first rounds of edits, using this checklist. I really like that. That makes a lot of sense.
It was interesting too. When I first started demoing this, I thought it would be something that the brand manager or an art director might use in their review process. We're actually seeing a lot of designers use it. So the design team will run this as a first pass before they actually move it on to those stakeholders who might have some more, subjective feedback than just, hey, does a mandatory disclaimer, is that listed? And so there's some cool examples. This is something that is in production with a couple of our clients as well, which is really exciting. We're starting to roll it out to a wider audience, and pretty soon we're not only going to see these suggested changes in the checklist, but also suggested comments off of it that will auto-populate in the comment list.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Mike, I just want to thank you so much for sharing this demo with us. I certainly found this insightful and learned about some new features about Ziflow that seem really exciting and very useful in terms of saving me time. And I can't wait to see where this AI integration goes. For anyone that is looking to integrate Ziflow within their Monday.com workflow, feel free to reach out. Our contact information is in the description below, and we can definitely help you get set up with this. Again, this is an online creative proofing tool for probably almost every company, because in today's world, everyone has some kinds of marketing, some kinds of creative images, social media, videos. So it's really a tool that can be used for a lot of different types of companies. So thank you again for joining us. And I hope that everyone will take a look at Ziflow and see how you can integrate it with Monday to really just save you time within this whole process of proofing. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.